Welcome back to Market It with Atma, where we share the tips, tools, and strategies to help your business be successful. Today, we have a very special guest, Mr. Kimball Sinclair. He is the co-founder of Sinclair Apothecary, and he was inspired with his wife to create this company because of his wife's fight with cancer and her refusal to accept that pharmaceuticals was the only way to go and live a happy life. Welcome, Kimball. How are you today?
Oh, it's good to be here.
Great. I'm so glad you joined us. You're actually referred to us by our Duo Desk manager, right? Who is currently using you and your wife's product.
Yes, she's using a couple.
So tell me about how this all came to be and why get into this type of industry?
Sure. I've always been in ministry. So for me, ministry and reaching out to people was something that I just always done. I was raised as a kid that we went through. My dad was an evangelist, and we traveled all over the nation singing in churches. And for me, ministry was just part of life. And I really thought I've always wondered exactly why ministry was where God sent me. And it's always been a journey because sometimes I've worked, but I still did ministry part-time. For my wife, she felt called to ministry from her childhood as well. From the time she was in high school, in college, and when we met, we were both trying to figure out what ministry was and what that meant. And we were just not comfortable in the process of ministry. It was, we love the fact that God changed lives. But I'm not a politician.
Right.
So I trouble with the politics of people who want their own agendas.
I think we all do.
For me, that was just a real jumble of heartache.
Absolutely.
Because dealing with people's agendas just always messed up what God was trying to accomplish.
Right.
And so around 17 years ago, Debbie got diagnosed with cancer. And in the process of her recovery, God led us to find natural ways to actually heal her body, to make it whole. And about 3 years ago, she said, I think God wants me to sell it and make it.
That's wonderful. So it's always been natural for you to just follow the word of God and allow him to take kind of control of your life?
Well, we always fight to maintain our own control.
Absolutely.
So I was 52. My dad was passing away. And he'd done evangelism for 60 years. And I was sitting there with him, and he was dying. And he said, son, what's wrong? So, Dad, you know what's going on. You're not Mama. No, Mama lost her mind, but you know what's going on. He said, me dying? Oh, son, I've died every day for 60 years. It's just me going home.
Oh.
I said, okay, Dad, thanks. I needed that right now. He goes, but that's not the problem with your real. I said, well, Dad, I feel like I failed you in ministry. I feel like you led tens of thousands of people to the Lord, and you served in so many churches. I helped serve the local church. Hundreds, maybe, I don't know, tens. I haven't had the ministry you've had, and I feel like as a son that I should have done more than you. But I failed you as a son in the ministry and not accomplished what you accomplished. And he goes, son, my legacy will never be churches served or lives saved. He said, my legacy is a surrendered heart.
Wow.
So you do that, and that's all God wants. I'm 53, and I'm hearing that for the first time. I wish I'd heard that when I was 10.
No kidding.
But I heard it at 53, and that's when I needed it, and it changed my whole concept of what I thought ministry was. I thought ministry had to be in front of people, if you're on a stage or leading them in church or somewhere you're involved in church structure. And God just freed me up in that moment.
Wow.
To prepare me for what my wife was fixing to start. So when she started, for her, she'd been making this products for a while. And I'd love to tell about her story as far as coming from cancer to here.
Because that's what inspired this whole business,
but,
right?
But she had a friend down the street who burned her leg with turkey grease.
Oh, no.
She goes, oh, it was bad. It was a big old thing. And she goes, I've got something that might help you.
Okay.
Can I bring it to you?
Okay.
They're like, yeah. So she brought down this little jar of salve. It was made from a plant called comfrey. Okay. And she said, just put that on your leg. Don't put it on the blister. Put it around the blister. And she kind of working out. Well, they immediately took the heat out of the blister and began to take up the heat out of the whole burn.
Wow.
Within a week, the blister was gone. And by the end of a month, there was no scar.
That's incredible.
It was incredible.
For a grief line?
Yeah, it was incredible. And the lady was like, you need to sell that. That's impressive. And so Debbie just said, I think that's what she said. I think God wants me to sell it and make it. But she went into it for the purpose of making people whole the way God had made her whole.
Mm, that's wonder.
And so as we made everything we made, we prayed over it that God might use it to make someone whole or that it might bring peace to someone. The first market we were ever at, this lady comes to our booth, and I thought she was mad because she looked angry. I mean, she looked angry. And I was afraid to talk to her. But she comes in and she's just looking at stuff and she's checking this out. And she reached over for something, and I saw on her hand these horrible red sores. I mean, they were just horrible. And they would mean and angry and horrible.
The sores looked bad?
Yes, the sores did look bad. And I said, what's that in your hand? She goes, well, it's psoriatic arthritis. For me, that's where it breaks out. And I've tried steroids. I've tried everything, and nothing works. Nothing takes away the pain, and nothing takes away the burn. Mm. And I just have to live with it. And so I could tell that she was dealing with pain, and her pain was why she looked
miserable.
Yeah. And so she was checked out a couple of Debbie's products, and she grabbed the healing salve, the one that the lady used for the burn, and she put it on her hand, and she just stroked it across her hand, and she looked at me, her husband, and she goes, get your wallet. And then he was working. He was going for that wallet. And she began to put it across her hand, and she put it across her whole hands. And when she looked up, I literally saw pain drop from her face.
The pain in her, the coloring didn't change, but the
pain in her face, her whole countenance relaxed, and she took a breath.
Wow.
She stayed in our booth for 2 hours, just talking.
Oh, I bet she did.
It was the first time she'd been free of pain in her hands.
That is.
She told us about her dad and things that she wanted to do for him, and she just began to open up and share. And when I saw that pain leave her face, I looked at my wife and said, we're doing this. I don't care. We make nothing. I'm doing this every day.
You went into it with not a heart of wanting to gain money or material things. It was just wanting to help people.
Right. And as soon as I saw that pain leave her face, I was like, oh, we doing this.
Because that was real.
But because of the freedom I received from my dad's statement, I was free to walk in whatever ministry God had prepared for us. So for me, it was an easy move. And for her, it's a lot of fear, a lot of just trusting God. And God has just grown it ever since. Her goal, when she started, was to make $1,000 a month to help with bills.
So it's because of her diagnosis, right?
Just bills, anything, just to help. Because she wanted to be a helpmate. And ministry don't pay much. And so she began with that goal in mind, and God, she made as much in a year as I made.
Oh,
her first year.
That's incredible. That means she really. So did she have a team of people helping her create these? Or
she made everything.
Wow.
She makes everything still.
That is amazing. She quit her full-time job?
She didn't have one. Okay. She had, because of was walked through the cancer. Mm-hmm. She was a nurse or in the medical field 17 years ago, and had been through everything that doctors want you to go through to learn how to deal with people in the medical field. Right. Sold on pharmaceuticals. Always thought the doctor's concepts as the best way to get yourself whole. Mm-hmm. So when she got diagnosed with cancer, and her journey was quite. She had pushed for a doctor to look at her own ideas of what her breast was dealing with for years. And none of them would listen to her. None of them would take her own, well, I'm feeling something in my breast as reality, and say, oh, it's just fatty tissue. Oh, it's just, you're not really feeling what you're feeling. Mm-hmm. And she was like, no, I feel something. And then she would leave that doctor and go to a new doctor. No, you're just feeling fatty tissue. It's nothing.
I feel like a lot of women go through the same thing.
Just, I know that she did not like that journey.
Absolutely not.
That part of it was very frustrating for her. Mm-hmm. And she finally found a doctor who believed her and wanted to send her to get a mammogram. Mm-hmm. She was 39. And the insurance came back and said, no, we don't authorize a mammogram. She's not 40. Then she was like, no, she needs the mammogram. 6 times. No, we're not going to give her a mammogram.
The doctor asked.
The doctor asked 6 times. 6 times insurance came back and said, no, we deny it. We decline that. We deny that. Mm-hmm. Deny that. And the 7th time, she sent them a letter that was rather mean no, you're going to give her a mammogram, and we're going to get to the bottom of this, and you don't have an option. Mm-hmm. She's going today. So Debbie took her daughter, and they went to get a mammogram, and they set up the mammogram. They started the test, and the initial technician that does the mammogram paused the test and said, I need to get an oncologist.
Oh, her heart dropped.
Well, for her, it was confirming.
Right.
Because it was already her fear. Mm-hmm. She already feared that. Mm-hmm. So this just confirmed her fear. For the oncologist that came in, saw that diaceous cells, some kind of word that they use for just cells floating.
I'm not familiar with those, but yeah, they were unfamiliar. Yeah, they shouldn't have been there.
They shouldn't have been there.
Okay.
And he was like, well, I think we need to investigate that because I think there's more there than Debilitating. And it wasn't just a quarter, it was like full circle. Oh. It was full circle. And so they were concerned. They gave Debbie pamphlets. My daughter saw the pamphlets, and that's how my daughter realized that her mother was dealing with cancer. Mm. Debbie comes home to me, and she looked at me, she said, when I die, I want you to remarry. I said, no.
No kidding.
She goes, but you need to be with somebody. I said, sweetheart, first off, that training I went through with you, I'm not doing that again. I'm training. I ain't training twice.
So every wife wants to hear, right?
Secondly, when you die, I'm going to be 90. Mm-hmm. And I'm not marrying anybody when I'm 90.
No kid. You aren't willing to give up.
She was like, you know what I mean. Mm-hmm. So, sweetheart, we've already put this in the hands of Big God. Mm-hmm. He's going to walk us through it. And whatever his plans are, he's in control. Mm-hmm. But if you ever lack faith, just lean on me because I'm not going to.
I love that. So when did that realization of what was really going on with her body transform into the...
Good question. Well, she went through everything the doctors told her to do. She went through chemo, she went through radiation. And a lot of things happened in the process of that to get us to the point where we're just going to trust the Lord. Yeah. They told her to take pills. She had several pills she was on. She was on gabapentin for I'm
not sure what the medical term fibromyalgia.
That's the one.
There we go.
That's the one. You're way closer than I am. I never had it. But she was dealing with that, and then they started compounding all these other pills on her. Mm. And she was taking 30, 40 pills a night. And she said, hey, something's not working. They said, take more of that pill. And then she said, well, it's causing this, this, and this. I said, well, take 3 more pills. Mm. And she was taking pills because of pills.
It's like, where's the benefit?
She was depressed. She was bedridden, almost suicidal. Oh. Just all these things hit her one time. And she said, I quit. I'm done. Mm-hmm. Because death was going to be easier than living. And we could adjust to her being gone better than her being in pain.
Absolutely. It's torture to watch your loved one go through that much pain, I would assume.
Well, I didn't know what to do. I was doing everything I could just to let her know we're praying. We're trying to get through this. And reading the Bible, she found a verse in the Bible. It's Ezekiel 47:12. In the end, God promises the Jewish people, I'm going to feed you with fruit, but I'm going to heal you with plagues. Mm-hmm. And she said, God's coming out. And she quit taking pills.
Wow. Scary.
She said, I'm just going to trust the Lord. And she was a warrior. She wasn't just a survivor. She was a warrior. In fact, when she got her last chemo, just to let you know, her last chemo, the Denton Community on Cancer Society asked her to be in a fashion show.
Nice.
Because they wanted to honor the people that are going through chemo and let them know they're still beautiful. Yeah. And so she was in a fashion show with about 3,000 people out in front of her. Mm-hmm. And she put on the clothes they wanted her to put on, and she had her wig on her head. And she walks out down the runway. She does her little turn. And she turned around to him. She goes, and the song was Dancing Queen. And she loves ABBA. And so she walks to the end of the aisle, and she does her little turn. And she goes, I'm done. And she just grabbed the wig and threw it off in the crowd. And
wow.
Said, I'm out. And then she walked off. They went crazy, man. They were jumping up and standing. But it just validated that warrior spirit in her, that she's not going to live to be a victim.
Absolutely. There's no give up in her.
She was going to fight till whatever it took to get past it.
Mm-hmm.
And so now she's going through the process of trusting the Lord, and he starts showing her the best way for plants to get in her body. There's a lot of trial and error in the process. There's a lot of which way would work best. She ended up on tinctures because tinctures actually work. Tinctures are an alcohol extraction of either a plant or a mushroom.
Mm-hmm.
And at an alcohol medium is what she likes to use. It actually affects the cells.
Right. Okay.
And for especially lion's mane, has the ability to cross the blood-brain barrier and truly affect the neurons in the brain.
Wow.
So, and alcohol will actually affect you at a cellular level. Sometimes the glycerin won't, nor is it as effective. And you have to take more of the glycerin to get the effect you get from an alcohol.
Okay. But because of both of you being so involved with the business of the company, you can really customize what you feel each tincture will benefit that person that's coming to talk to you about what their ailment is.
Well, I've had to watch a lot of videos.
Yeah, of course.
And Debbie has given me a whole lot of communication. And luckily I absorbed it. So I'm able to at least talk about it in a way where I can at least make you think I know what I'm talking about.
Right. And her coming from the medical field, I'm sure helps because she's done probably all of the research. Right.
That, and she knows exactly what each one of these do. I mean, she knows which ones they affect. She knows how they do that. If I do come up with a problem that I can't get a answer to, it's always, hey, there we go. That's the problem. I need to tell.
Hey, I would much rather you do that than just tell me something, right? So with that being said, you grow much of your own ingredients, right?
We try to grow what we can. What we can, we do grow. We have sources that we have that are trusted sources.
Okay.
Most are organic.
Perfect.
Or they're non-GMO.
Okay, then.
Or they're no pesticides.
Nice.
Like we have a grower, somebody who collects our usnea in Washington State.
Okay.
And she actually takes it out of the trees.
Wow.
And collects it fresh for us. Puts it in a little box and sends it to us.
That puts a whole new definition on handmade.
Tells us what tincture she wants, and we ship those to her as a as a payment.
That's incredible.
And so it's a neat little system.
That is wonderful. And do you like having your personal touch on everything?
That's not what we do.
Yeah.
I mean, we wouldn't do it any other way. Because Debbie can't control quality if somebody else has their hand in.
No, absolutely.
She has a like our lion's mane. Lion's mane's a tincture. It's a mushroom.
Okay.
It's designed to help with the neurons in the brain and actually help them function and find new pathways.
Mm-hmm.
We have people that use it instead of Adderall.
Wow.
Because it's strong enough that her dose is like 1 drop for every 50 pounds of your body.
Okay. Okay.
If you were to buy it online from some other apothecary or some other location, earthly, I believe their dose is 3 to 6 milliliters.
Wow. But it's not by weight.
No, it's 3 to 6 milliliters, which is 1, 2, sometimes 3 dropperfuls of product.
Oh my.
So you're getting 3 dropperfuls of alcohol with mushroom. And Debbie's giving you the option of 1 drop for every 50 pounds of your body. So if you weigh 300 pounds, that's 6 drops.
So you have a more refined and specific dosage amount.
And the purpose of that is simple. One, we want you to get more of a dose of mushroom without a ton of alcohol.
Yeah, that.
And secondly, we have children that can do this. They just take 1 drop.
Wow. So in the beginning, were you kind of explaining this definition, for instance, with the lion's mane, to friends and family? How are you morphing? Because you've grown from just helping your neighbor down the street to an actual physical location.
Yes. Yes.
Tell me about that. How quickly was that growth, and why do you think it was so exponential?
Demand. There's so many people that wanted the product and that knew that pharmaceuticals weren't going to be the way they wanted to continue their life. And they wanted something that was natural, that didn't have the side effects that would help them on a personal basis. Because like Debbie makes a magnesium gel. She made it because during chemo, she had a stroke. Because the right side of her body it wasn't paralyzed, but it was damaged.
Right.
And it would flare up every once in a while, and she gets these, I want to say, like jellyfish tingling all over her side.
Right. All right.
And so she tried everything on the market, and none of it was strong enough because she doesn't like pain.
Well, I don't think anybody really enjoys
pain. Pain needs to stop.
Right.
And she wants to stop like right now. And so she tried everything out there, and nothing actually affected it fast enough for her to get relief. So she makes her own magnesium gel.
Okay.
And she makes it to water base, so it absorbs really quickly in the skin. It is a magnesium oil that she makes her own strength of, and it's usually about 4 times stronger than spray. And when you put it on, like I put it down her side, she feels the effects in less than a minute.
My goodness.
But it calms down the whole body and begins to relax all the nerves from firing and relaxes her whole side, and she's asleep.
But it's not completely defeating your brain and putting you in a comatose state of mind.
No, it's not a drug. But you have magnesium that naturally calms. And because it comes in topically, it actually absorbs at roughly 100%.
Wow.
Goes through the muscles, and then it affects your body from there.
Which is wonderful, because you're not damaging your liver and your kidneys.
Correct, because magnesium your body uses 100% of. Your body uses like 300 different processes for magnesium in your body.
Wow.
And without magnesium, vitamin D doesn't get to your cells.
And that's so important.
But Debbie was diagnosed with her cancer. Part of the diagnosis came, they said, well, your vitamin D level is like super low, so we're going to give you 5,000 BTUs of vitamin D every day. I mean, every week you're getting this big dose of vitamin D, and it was gone by the next week because her body was just using it all up.
Wow.
And she was trying to figure out why it was doing that. So she did research on her own and found out that she needed magnesium. So she went to her oncologist and said, hey, do I need magnesium for the vitamin D? He goes, oh, that would be very good.
Oh, wow. My goodness. My goodness. They're just so used to dishing out what
it was like. They just want to give you a vitamin D pill.
Wow.
But the magnesium was necessary for the vitamin D to finish its process.
So with her quitting the medication, did she amplify her use in her own tincture?
No. I want to say we don't endorse walking away from your treatment plan.
Absolutely. Okay.
And unless the Lord tells you to walk away from a treatment plan, and then you've done a lot of research and preparation and expectation, we are by no means endorsing you to leave Western medicine.
This is something you want to attribute to a treatment plan, right?
But it can be an addition.
Right.
Like elderberry and turkey tail are not going to affect chemo. One's going to be a great immune help. And turkey tail is going to go in when you're in chemo and fight cancer cells and just eradicate them. That's it. Then it just goes in there and starts attacking them.
Wow.
Like a serious Pac-Man. But they aren't to be done in place of.
Okay. That's something very important to understand.
I'm not trying to tell people to stop doing medicine because that's not our goal.
Right.
Our goal is to help it become something that truly helps the body.
Absolutely. What's Debbie doing now?
Debbie is 16 years clear, almost 17.
Wow. Congratulations.
And God has also a great way of bringing humor into situations that are so stressful.
Really?
Yeah. She had a double mastectomy as a part of her process. My second son was on a worship team out in West Texas, going to churches, doing little VBSs for all these little churches, while she was going just after her mastectomy. And he was telling them to pray for his mom. I pray for my mom. She's had this surgery. And about 3 weeks into his trip, a pastor calls me from way out west. He says, hey, can you tell me exactly what kind of surgery your wife had? I said, she had a double mastectomy. He goes, oh, thank God. Your son's telling everybody she had a vasectomy, and it's just not making sense. I said, oh. So I'm glad we know what kind of surgery she had so we can pray properly.
The curiosity almost killed the cat, right?
So I had to call my son and have a quick anatomy conversation about the two.
There's always a light, right? There's always a silver lining to everything. And that's wonderful that you encourage that not that defeatedness. I mean, you can see that silver lining.
That's something we also do with people who come to our book, because some of them are so destroyed. They felt like the big C is death.
Yeah.
And it brings a lot of fear. It did for us. Right? It did for Debbie. It did for our kids. My kids looked at me to see how they were going to respond to cancer. And because I walked into it knowing that we're still in God's hands, the kids are able to lean on me.
It's so important.
Just walk in that faith. There was several times I get mad at men dropping off their women at their wives.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even say that. Their wives at chemo and leaving them.
Like it wasn't something that was torturous to go through.
And I was just like they're walking in totally deflated. They needed support. And I would encourage any man out there whose wife is dealing with a medical problem that you're not a part of.
Right.
Stand with her.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because you are you're still that leader.
You're the evidence of faith in her.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely right. So now that you guys have walked through you've walked through the storm, you really have. So you can really understand where people are coming from. How do you help customers understand what it is you're helping with and what you do when you say they come to your booth? One, where do you set up at? Two,
Sure.
How do you let people know what you're doing and how you can help them?
When we started, that it was just farmers markets
Mm-hmm.
and random East Texas farmers markets that are out in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
And you're like, you know, when they go show up, people show up. You're like, oh my gosh, there are people. And
Sometimes it's the highlight of the weekend, okay?
that's all they got.
Right.
It's better than television.
Yeah.
So they would show up at the markets, and we thought that the best way for us to get our products out was in a natural face-to-face process,
Mm-hmm.
because there's a lot of education that has to happen with the process of someone looking at these. They're not something that you're educated on anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It used to be natural medicines. This is what they used to do.
Which is
They would
until pharmaceutical.
they would give you a tea and say, drink this for 3 days. It's going to taste like horn meat. And in 3 days, you're going to feel a lot better, but you got to do it every day, every morning, every night. And put this, pose this on. I mean, it was all the natural stuff because that's all they had.
Right.
We didn't have petroleum-based pharmaceuticals back then. Absolutely. They just had natural ways to fix yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How the Native Americans found out plants did what they do, I don't know.
Still to this day, right?
I mean, we used like a comfrey. They called it bone net.
Mm-hmm.
And they actually used leaves from a comfrey plant to heal their bones through their skin.
That's incredible.
They would take the leaf, put it over a broken bone, wrap it on with animal skin,
Wow.
and let it sit there for a few days. And then they take it off, and it had helped their arms, their bones heal.
I feel like a lot more of this generation, especially our generation right now, is going back to those remedies and those medicines that they used more naturally at the beginning. Because, I mean, you see so many people, you can take one medication for one thing, and it really leads you to death on the side effect end, right?
Well, we began to question the brainwashing that took place from our kids. I mean, like breakfast cereal. We were brainwashing to thinking we had to have a breakfast cereal. Thank you, Post. But, you know, they brainwashed the world into thinking without a breakfast, you can't have a day.
Right, right.
Well, breakfast wasn't something they ever did. They had intermittent fasting. That's just the way they lived. They didn't eat till noon. They went out and did all the chores all morning. They worked on their farm, and they ate at noon, and they didn't have a breakfast.
Everything was very different.
Yeah.
It's I think a lot of our day-to-day lives have been commercialized and manipulated in some way. It's educating yourself, right? With anything, you have to educate yourself.
So we have to re-educate people on what the purpose of these are.
Mm.
And there's people that look at them and go, that's hooey.
Right.
That's a bunch of
And
snake
that's their
oil.
right to say that.
So
Right.
just last week, we had a man come into our store,
Okay.
and he showed me a picture on his phone. He's like, see this? It was the mag gel. He goes, see that? For some reason, that bottle doesn't like tile floors because it broke. So I've got to buy a new one of these. And his wife said, tell him the truth. Tell him what happened. He goes, all right, I'll tell you. When we were at the market, my wife bought this because I told her it was silly and wasn't going to do nothing and not worth buying. We shouldn't get it. And I have to admit, I was wrong. It's the only thing that's helped my pain in my knees. It's the only thing. And I need it so bad that I was fixing to go into that glass mixed gel that was on the floor and find a way to save it. My wife said, don't. He said, so now I've got to come buy some more because I got to have that stuff. And then, but because that works so well, he was willing to look at the tinctures. And now he's doing a bunch of tinctures actually helping his inflammation, helping him in other ways that are very effective. And like the limonene. It helps so much with people who have trouble with focus.
Right. Who don't want to take a legal methamphetamine, right?
Right.
You know, so many side effects, so many issues can come from it. And I think a lot of, especially consumer type businesses, you have to believe it. You have to see if it's real, if it's going to work. You have to feel it.
You don't have to be a believer. If you put a healing salve on your hand and the heat goes away from your sunburn immediately, and you're like, okay, I'm going to do that again. I've had people come to the market and they're like, yeah, sure, I'm just going to work. This one lady had corn out, and her fingers on this side of her hand looked like snake skin.
Wow.
And it was just gnarly and dry. Mm-hmm. And she goes, I never can find out where the corn is. And every once in a while I'll get out. Mm-hmm. And I was like, wow, that looks really big. Here, put some of this healing salve on. I don't know, but you need that. Just you need it.
That's the look.
She goes, well, I'll try it. And she puts it on and she walks off. Well, it was right at the end of the market. We packed up and we left. Okay. Well, we didn't go back to that market because it was, 2 hours away. And we weren't going back for another 2 months. So we weren't going to go back for a while.
Right.
And she calls us in panic. 3 weeks later, she found us. She goes, where are you? Yeah. I told her where we lived. She goes, that is 2.5 hours from me. I will be there in 2 hours.
Wow.
I said, whoa. What's going on? She goes, that was the only thing that has ever made my arm feel like a hand again.
Oh.
And I'm coming to get some of that.
That is incredible. It really is. Just to hear the stories. I mean, we need lots of testimonials. So how do you scale something works? Like what phase of, because we use the Bill Blanche growth scale method.
Sure.
About it. What phase are you guys in right now? And how do you continue to grow your business throughout
We're still growing. Years? See, we started with a market face-to-face concept because people have to see us, see the truth in what we're saying because you're looking at me. Absolutely. I'm not throwing lies at you. I'm not snaky. I'm not sneaking stuff in.
Yeah, you almost encourage people to doubt you.
Do it.
Right.
All of our products, our ingredients are right there in front of you. Mm. We don't have anything hidden in there. There's no extra chemicals. There's nothing that's sneaky or coming from somewhere else. Everything is right there for you to see.
That's wonderful.
And yes, we want you to see it, know that it's real. We want you to look at our faces and know that we're not lying. Mm-hmm. We want you to know that what we're doing is truthful. And so if we come at you with truth, you can't fight that.
That's right.
And if it doesn't work for you, I'm sorry, it's worked for a bunch of other people. Let's try something that might. I know something else that might do it. Like I had a guy that tried one thing and it didn't do for him, but the other thing he tried fixed so many things for him. Right. He sold on that and other things. And if this one didn't work, but this one did.
Right? Yes. Each person is so different. Not every medication or every illness.
The only thing Debbie's concept, the Lord tell her, was to get stuff in front of people at a market.
Right.
So farmers market was our initial concept. Mm-hmm. And so I was at the time, during COVID, our church lost its funding. Okay. And so I was trying to figure out where I was going to go in ministry. And I was fixing to put my resume back out. And God said, no. Go back in IT. Do some of that IT stuff you used to do. I'm going to bless. Okay, God. So I started doing some technician stuff, just helping freelance. This company called me out of the blue and said, we want to make you a technician. So I was like, really? And it's the same time that Debbie decided she wanted to start this company. Mm-hmm. And so I was working all week for them. I'd come on Friday, load up the car. On Saturday morning, I'd go with her to a market. We get back from the market, I'd unload the car. And then I would be able to spend a little bit of Sunday with her. And then I was back on the road. And so I did that for 3 years. I'd show up home and I would load the car every Friday night. And then she would go to the market and we'd go together. And that was fun. I had a great time. I'd hear her tell people. In fact, she used to have 4 sides on the tent. And somebody would come in and say, well, try something. She'd go, honey, you need to take a walk. And then she would zip up that tent and they would, I don't know what they did, but they would try that ointment on wherever said they believed it. And then she would zip and say, okay, honey, you can come back. But her goal was to make you whole. It wasn't about selling you something. It was like, we're going to fix your problem right now. And people would buy it because, literally, they walked away pain-free. And so, well, we did just that face-to-face market prospect at the beginning. And when we moved to Dallas, because the markets were a little more affluent, a little better for us to actually market ourselves. We got locked into a couple of really good markets, and the only way we could do that was for us to split. So she went to a market, and I went to a market on Saturday.
Divide and conquer, right?
So you were able to divide that effort into 2 locations, but we're still having to produce to keep up with the people that want to buy our product.
Right.
And so now we're in 2 markets on a Saturday, and a good market on a Sunday. And I promised her that for 2 years, starting a year ago, that I would do everything we could every day of the week to get the company to a point where it could run and sell.
Okay.
And just trusted the Lord that that's what he wanted us to do. And he's now got us into 5 markets on a Saturday. We're in 3 markets on a Sunday. And we're doing 8 markets a week on the weekend. We have a store open, which was like godsend because we were trying to build everything in this little 10 by 12 room in the house. Right. And I've got a wall of tinctures, and I've got stuff over here. I'm trying to open a drawer. I've got to move stuff to put printer paper in. And I said to her one day, we're done. This is not effective.
Right.
You've got to find somewhere else. And she went by a place on McGee Lane in Louisville, and she prayed. She said, "This is where God wants." And I was like, okay, but there was no space open.
That's the 11th problem, yeah.
Just right on. And so we contacted the people after we'd driven by and prayed over, I don't know how many times. I saw the number on the, there was a number for the company.
Right,
agency,
the property management
company. So I called them and I said, hey, I need to speak to whoever's in charge of this probation. And his name was Larry. He was a great guy. And he goes, I don't have anything there, but let me show you some other stuff. So he showed us all these other places that he had opportunities at. None of them worked. None of them were the right price. They weren't the right space. They just didn't make, they was hard at peace. And somewhere in July of last year, and he goes, well, a spot over here at this location is coming open. And it was the exact space that she had prayed
from the beginning.
Yes.
Oh, that's incredible.
And
it just went down.
and he goes, I think I can get you it for this price. And it actually was a perfect price for the place we wanted. And God has just blessed that space. But it gave us space in the back to actually do production. And so we get a production in. And in the front section, the other guy had used as like a storage room, but just a bunch of storage space.
Yeah.
And Debbie said, no, we might be able to make that store. So we prayed over it, but we worked on production because last year was so crazy.
Yeah.
Production was out the wazoo. I mean, Christmas wore us out.
It's a great problem to have, right?
It was, but it was tiring to the point we got done with Christmas. We put everything in the store and we're done. We're out. Yeah. We're not even looking at this for a week.
I mean, I think a lot of entrepreneurs with any business go through that, right?
Like this is done.
Absolutely.
Then we kicked back up in January, and the Lord just gave us opportunity to open the store in 1st March.
Wow.
And the people have just steadily come in, and the store is providing for itself.
And it's so you being patient and you both just waiting and trying to listen instead of forcing anything has really led to a lot of your profit and your benefit and being transparent.
Let's got us in the pattern we're in.
Right.
As far as marketing goes, Debbie's label is so simple.
Right.
She wanted simplicity in the label to put quality in the product.
That's a wonderful mindset as well. Obviously, it's work.
So when you look at it, it's simple. It's easy to read. You know what it says. You can see the ingredients. You know what she's done. It's not foo-foo and flowers. It's just simple. And so people look at that and they love the market. They love the packaging because it is so simple.
It's easy. It's not confusing or tricky or anything like that.
Everything is right there.
With that being said, is there any specific advice you would want to give to entrepreneurs in the healing space or any entrepreneur and something, give them advice on anything you wish to have learned along this way that you've learned and wish I would have told my younger self that.
One thing that's been proven true is that whatever you're doing, you have to be able to be truthful with.
People will sniff out the snake oil, right?
They will destroy it. they will see a light coming a mile away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mind if people test this.
Absolutely, right.
Because I've seen it help too many people to not think it's going to help somebody. It's somebody that's feeling skeptical.
Absolutely. Your ratio is strong.
That's strong. I don't have a worry about that. But for someone that's wanting to do something that has any kind of questionable process, I pray hard about what they're doing.
Absolutely.
Our foundation was in the fact that God made her whole.
Cool.
It was the healing power of the Lord that made her whole. And from that, we want to extend that prayer to everyone. That's why everybody gets a ribbon. That's why everybody gets a prayer. Everybody knows that when they come in that booth and when they leave, they're met with compassion, they're met with truth, and they're met with love. No matter what their background is or who they are. We have pagans that come into I mean people that worship Mother Earth, and they believe in the cycles of the moon, and that the plants came from some of their origin. But they know when they come in our booth that we give it the credit of the Lord. Mm-hmm. I don't cram it on the throat. I don't try to make them feel bad, because the plant's a plant.
At the end of the day,
the plant's a plant. And the plant's going to do what the plant's going to do. Mm-hmm. And because we're using the natural plant and the purpose that's been designed for it, mm-hmm. It works.
And
then they can't argue with it.
Right.
They can give it credit to whoever they want to give it to. I can give it to whoever I want to give it to.
That's right.
But the plant's still a plant, and it does what it does.
Yeah. And that's what you want people to feel when they walk away, no matter which your belief is. If it works for you, then what? Keep doing it, right?
Yeah.
As long as it's not hurting you at the end of the day. I mean, why not try something? Anyone looking for healing, or even just to have some support, some understanding, I mean, would really benefit from seeing you guys, because you've been there, right?
No, yeah. We've dealt with it personally. Mm-hmm. So when someone comes in our booth and they're dealing with a family member, mm-hmm. or they're dealing with themselves, mm-hmm. Our first step is compassion. Just let them know that they're not alone. We've been there. If a man wants to support his wife, I'm right there telling him, hey, let me tell you how to do it.
And I'm sure the wife loves that support as well.
I'm 100% behind. You're not walking through this alone, but if you're walking through without God, you don't have a foundation.
Absolutely. And I mean, me being in the marketing world and sales world, it just attributes to the phrase, people buy from people they know, like, and trust.
Right.
If I trust someone, I'm going to at least try what they have, right?
Good.
But you have to have that transparency, like you said, to earn trust with people.
Debbie came at this because God healed her. And she wants that healing she received to go to whoever comes across her path.
That's amazing. Work hard.
If somebody gives it to somebody, mm-hmm. that same prayer is going to be there. There's a little lady that comes into our store, and every 2 weeks she buys 2 elderberry honeys.
Okay.
Loves the honey. Honey's really good.
Right.
But she'll buy them 2 honeys. And every time she comes in, she gets a bag and a ribbon. Mm. And she came in February. She goes, let me tell you a story. I'd love to hear a story. She goes, my family all came over for Christmas. And my grandson brought his girlfriend over to my house. Mm-hmm. And the girlfriend asked why I had all these ribbons all over the house. And he said, I don't know. I'm last name. So he goes, Grandma, why do you have all these ribbons? She goes, well, those are blessings. And every time I go buy that honey, I get a blessing. And I hang the blessings everywhere I need a blessing. And her husband looked around the room and he goes, there's a lot of blessings. There's a lot of blessings in him. And she goes, and I've been tying them on people's presents to send them to them. She goes, and my sister stole 2 of them. But that's okay. I just pray for her a little harder.
That's wonderful. You're giving them just a little sense of hope they can share with others.
It's a neat repackaging thing that they actually repackage to get to someone else. They pass it on to the next person. One girl comes to a booth, grapevine, and she finds that's a grapevine with her mother, and Debbie goes to package the present up, or the purchase, and hand it back to her, and she goes, "My boyfriend's got one of those ribbons on his rear mirror. Oh, we got it in Keller from a lip biter. I remember now.
You're everywhere.
You're your husband." And I happened to come around the corner. She goes, "It was him. It was that guy." But it's just to have that little.
That's your brand.
I've had people send us back a message telling us that the ribbon hit them at such a perfect time.
She was meant to be almost.
That was just that added prayer.
How do people find you if they want to reach out to just you, talk to you, or if they want to try what you have or see what you have to offer? How can they reach you or find you?
A couple ways. We have our website, SinclairApothecary.com.
Okay.
And if you want to look at ways we want to market, we're currently marketing at several places in person at markets around in Denton, Keller, Arlington, Flower Mound.
So all of those are listed on your.
They're all listed on our website.
Okay, great.
And at SinclairApothecary.com. And then we also have the ability to purchase online, so they can ship. We can ship anywhere back through the end of this month. We have free shipping.
Wow.
So we're shipping anywhere through the end of the month. And after that, there'll be a small, if you get to a certain price, then the shipping will be free. Okay. So they have the online option. They have the store. They can come to our store at 1865 McGee Lane, Sweet A. It's got a sign up there on the front of the building. Yeah. They can just come on into the store. And the phone numbers my phone number is actually on the website. So if they want to call somebody, they'll be calling me. I'd love the chance to talk to them. If they don't have any questions. We're not doctors. We don't prescribe. We don't analyze or
give medical advice.
I can only tell you what each one does to the best of my knowledge.
Right.
But I've seen it work consistently enough that I have faith in it doing what plants designed to do.
Right.
But we're not doctors. We don't give medical advice.
Which is a great disclaimer to put out there, because I mean, you can't claim everything works, but everybody's
and I can't claim it works for every person,
right?
But I can claim it's worked for a lot of people, and there's a chance.
Hey, if there's a will, there's a way, right?
God has used it in many ways to help a lot of people,
and that's a wonderful thing you and your wife are doing. And I'm very thankful that it led you to this today, because you're probably helping a lot more people than you even know.
Well, and that's another thing. We just trust God to do what He's doing. We want to eventually have classes where we teach people about herbalism and what plants do what, which ones are antispasmodics, which ones help with antiviral, which ones help with this. And she's going to do several classes, hopefully soon, but probably going to start in the fall.
Wow.
To help people understand what those are. My son's going to start a podcast to help us walk through different herbal things, and he's going to have the tea of the month, and
I think that would be
do some many things to walk through and help people understand some of the stuff we do. Maybe highlight a product and say this is what this product does. So they'll have the opportunities. He's going to do a TikTok. I don't know. I'm not involved in that.
Absolutely.
I'm the guy that installs. I'm not the social media guy.
Hey, at least you have the kiddos that are in this day and age. Make it happen, right? It really, everything you do really shows that something great can come out of something so terrible. So thank you for coming and sharing your story with us. And I really look forward.
The one thing my wife told me to tell people, if you're going to start a business, make sure you have a good support structure.
A good foundation.
People who believe in what you're doing and are supporting you in the process, because things are going to be lean. They're going to be difficult. They're going to be tough. They're not going to be easy. But if you have a group to lean on, it's 100% better.
And I can't wait for her to tell me more about that in this time.
Oh, she's awesome.
Thank you for Kimball. We'll see you next time. And for everyone listening out there, if you want a healing experience even, or you just want to try something else because whatever you're using isn't working, please reach out to Kimball or Debbie. They'd be more than willing to talk with you and try to help you any way they can. Until next time, we'll see you.